Students are saying they're being scammed by a school that Jay-Z supports. I do remember hearing about this school a couple of years ago, 2020, 2021, somewhere around that time frame. But we're going to get into the article, and there is something that I want to note about this situation. Students at Jay-Z's Rock Nation school claim debt-free scholarship is a scam. So we're not going to read this word for word. I'm going to give you some of the cliff notes. We are going to talk about some specific things in this, but essentially it's a arts, music, and entertainment school. Some kids were given what's called the Hope Scholarship, and they said, "Hey, you're going to go to school debt free." That's what the email said. That's what they initially understood. As they go into their program, they find out that it's not exactly debt free. When the Rock Nation School launched at Long Island University's downtown Brooklyn campus in 2021, as many as 50 students in the inaugural class, the first class, were awarded what they believed were debt-free scholarships by Jay-Z's behemoth entertainment company, meaning no loans or grants would be required for the completion of their degree. What's extremely important here is what they believed were debt-free scholarships. However, at least a dozen students are now claiming that they were billed by the school for thousands of dollars, forcing them to either borrow from the bank or leave their program altogether. Recipients of the Hope Scholarship not only accrued debt for room and board and associated living costs, but found their programs to be wildly overpromising and under-delivering basic resources for students. So the kids, they're having to take out loans, having to accrue debt, because even though it said debt-free, they're having to pay room and board and other living costs and other fees that are associated with going to school. When you go to school, it's not just your tuition. It's a bunch of different things. There are fees that the school asks for. There's room and board if you live on campus. All sorts of stuff, all sorts of hidden fees, like you're booking a flight, and then you get to the end and you got 1,000 other things that are tacked on. Another Hope Scholar who was attending the Rock Nation School of Music spent their first semester piecing together equipment to build the school's recording studio in an abandoned student radio station when they learned that there was no such facility available to them. So they're going to school for music, thinking that they're going to have, because it's sponsored by Jay-Z, because it's associated with Jay-Z, they think they're going to have the most up-to-date equipment. They're going to have a lot of resources, and they don't. So much so that somebody had to build their own recording studio. Essentially, it looks like he had to put in the sweat equity because there was nothing there for them, even though they're in the school of music, even though he's possibly looking to be able to record music being on campus as part of his program, but there's no such facility, so he had to build it. Another student who was informed of being awarded the debt-free scholarship by the student dean, Tressa Cunningham, via text, is getting ready to graduate with $5,000 of debt after negotiating down from $26,000. She was told by the dean of the school, "You're coming here debt-free," but she still accrued debt. $26,000. That's not a little bit of money. Is it the end of the world? It's not. It's about what people put a loan on for a car. You can eventually pay that off. But if you made a promise to me that I was going to school debt free, and then you turn around and tell me, "Oh, by the way, we forgot to tell you about this other stuff," then that sounds like a scam. That sounds like, those things when you go to like a multi-level marketing, one of those resorts or something that they sell in a mall. They're like, "Hey, if you just come to this seminar, you'll get a free room for the weekend." And then you get there, and then they're pressuring you, super high pressure sales tactics to get you to buy something. And then you end up in $50,000 of debt with a timeshare. And you're like, "Yo, how did I get here?" This seems like what is going on in this case. They get people into school, and then on the back end, you're being charged all of these fees, running up some debt that you didn't know that you were going to accumulate because the dean of the school told you were going debt free. The School of Music also enticed prospective students with guest lectures from marquee names like Rihanna, DJ Khaled, the Jonas Brothers, and others. But students report none of these stars showed up. They weren't able to get the exact people they promised. Rihanna is probably busy. DJ Khaled is dropping an album all the time. I'm not sure what the Jonas Brothers are doing. Actually, I think they're getting back getting back together and about to drop some music together. But at the very least, some students did get to meet some people that are in the industry. Rhapsody, I think she won a Grammy with Kendrick Lamar. Fat Joe, he's on Rhythm and Flow, and Meg Thee Stallion, who, she's a hot artist right now. So having her come up to the school is still a benefit. Has some connections to the industry, somebody that is still on top of the game in the spotlight. Rhapsody is well known as well, but she's just not as famous. But they did get some of what they were promised. They did get some celebrities. That's just not those marquee names like Rihanna, DJ Khaled, and the Jonas Brothers. Representatives of the school have been cagey about responding to concerns from students and the publication, which pressed Rock Nation about the language in their agreements with these students. Gothamist reports having viewed the acceptance letters of dozens of scholarship recipients speaking out against the company and school and finding nothing that indicates what the scholarship doesn't cover. So I'm assuming they found some things that the scholarship did cover, right? We saw that one girl got a text from the dean that said that she was going to come debt free, but there was nothing specifically outlined saying, hey, room or board isn't covered, these fees aren't covered, you're responsible for this. There's no verbiage in there saying what's not going to be covered, what the student is going to be responsible for. Many recipients receive their acceptance via email. Because you're a Hope Scholar, your tuition is fully covered. This means you don't need to take a tuition deposit. We can enroll you in classes right away. Okay, so this has been misleading up to this point because as everything that I read was saying debt-free, debt-free, debt-free. Debt-free is different than tuition-free. If you're just paying for our tuition, that means that anything outside of tuition, anything outside of specifically class-related expenses is covered by me. But like they said, there's no verbiage in there saying, hey, these fees aren't paid for, your meals aren't paid for, your room and board is not paid for. There's nothing that says that in the actual acceptance letter, but there is something in the email that says it's only tuition. So, you have to read between the lines, even though it sucks that they were misled by the actual acceptance letter, but the email does say that it's only tuition free. So when they're trying to debate this in court, they're going to have a hard time winning based on what I'm reading here, because the email does specify that it's only tuition and that they don't need to make a tuition deposit to enroll in classes. Gothamist reached out to Jackie Nealon, the LIU marketing chief, who claimed the letter also expressly includes that neither university fees nor housing costs are included in the scholarship, but failed to provide a copy of the scholarship offers with that wording. It's unclear how the institution intends to reconcile the debts accumulated by their debt-free scholars. It has at least updated the description of the scholarship's website to read tuition-free education instead. You can't tack on fees at the end and be like, oh, well, you should have known better. It either is debt-free and you can go to school completely for free with accumulating no sort of expenses, or it's tuition-free. Now, they've gone back and retroactively updated the website, but the only saving grace here is that they said in the email, you don't have to pay tuition, because the offer letter doesn't state anything contrary to that. It doesn't say that you're going to accumulate a fee for admin fees, accumulate a fee for room and board. So they do have a saving grace, but I still feel like it's kind of, it's kind of shaky. The case is kind of shaky. We'll see how it plays out in court. I think the 50 people that had the scholarship from that inaugural class, they got to file a class action and see if they can get somebody to represent them and wipe out all their debt. Because if you're not expecting to pay anything and then you're living a certain way, not saving the money for that, based on what you assumed was a promise of a tuition-free and debt-free college experience, and then you end up with $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 worth of debt, that's absolutely going to throw a monkey wrench in your plans as far as your finances. When we already know people are avoiding school, avoiding college debt, and seeking other means of making money. We'll see how it plays out. But once again, this is LIU. It's a Jay-Z affiliated and Jay-Z backed university that was offering scholarships for a couple of different avenues in entertainment. The students are saying they were misled with a debt-free promise, but the school is saying it was a tuition-free promise, and they're probably going to have to litigate it to get out from under any responsibility to pay back any college fees, room and board, any of that. If you like the video, subscribe to me back here for the next conversation. And if you have something to say, let the world know. This is the place for discourse. Till next time. Peace.